Hello, my name is Joel, and today I'm showing you how to reassemble a Parker hydraulic motor. This particular one is a Parker TG0530 series motor. Came off a Toro Dingo. So later on I'll show you what the actual model number of the motor is, but right now, sorry I won't be able to show you taking out the bearing, but basically if you grab a screwdriver like this, about like this long, about 6 to 8 inches long, and maybe quarter-inch tip, quarter to 3/8 tip, and you insert, I'm not going to do it because it's a brand new bearing, but you basically insert the screwdriver in here like this. It doesn't work because it's too big. Insert the screwdriver all the way down at the bottom so it contacts the edge of the bearings, the bearing housing, and then you take a smaller screwdriver in this and need to tap it out with a hammer, going all the way around various edges, doing a little bit at a time, because if you don't, you'll just break the housing out. So that's how you get it out, and then to put it back in, you'll need a special seal driver, or you can use 1/2-inch drive, 1 3/8 socket. Because I think this is a, oh no, I'm sorry, I have a 1 1/2-inch socket. Doesn't do. The best thing to use is the minimum size. I have a 36mm 1/2-inch drive socket, and it's still a little bit small, so I'd say probably about a 38 or 40mm socket would drive it in. So next I'm going to do is, first thing you got to do before you install the seal, you want to lube up the bearing. And in the Parker seal kit, which is for the TG0530 motor, you use SK000159 service kit. And a service kit, they give you enough grease you can actually grease up 2 bearings with this, with the grease. If you do this after the seal is put in, you'll have a big mess in your hands. So I did that last time. I took out to put the seal in before I lubed up the bearing with the grease, and it made quite a mess. So I had to spend a lot of time trying to clean out the bearings and the seals and everything else like that. It's just easier to do it. And use a generous amount of this grease, because hydraulic fluid does not lubricate this bearing. It's only lubricated using this grease that they give you in the seal kit. Use a liberal amount of this grease. This is going to determine how long this bearing lasts. I did the first motor rebuilt the first motor yesterday. No, Monday, to get an idea of how to do it first, and I made the video so I can be familiar with how to do it. A big shout out to Pro Parts Direct. This is where I got the seal kit and the shaft. The shaft is bad. I'll show you that shortly, what the new shaft and the old shaft looks like. I wish you could just go in here and re-grease these bearings. Didn't have to tear the whole motor apart just to replace a bearing. Alright, next thing is that's service kit. I got this. This is the one I got from Pro Parts Direct. It was for bearings, no, for a seal kit and for the motor shaft for this TG0530 motor. It was just under $339 including shipping. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. Elsewhere you're gonna pay around $400 to $500 for the same thing. So really good deal. Here's a seal. This is the way the direction installs seal in. With a lip, this is a lip. This lip, here you face outward toward outside of the machine. And user I just use a hammer and just go and the specs call for flush to 10 thousandths beyond something like that, beyond flush, so might be a little more, but alright. Here is the old motor shaft. This is what it looks like. It's really beat up. Scores and Right here is where the bearing rode on the shaft rode on the bearing, scored it all up, and this is what the new shaft is supposed to look like. It's got teeth in there for engagement of the motor drive shaft. Alright, but you can't install this yet. Alright, now wipe off the excess grease. Oh yeah, and by the way, the Dingo motor, hydraulic motor, uses a oh, I got a little grease in here. The Dingo hydraulic motor uses a 1 3/8 tapered shaft and I forget what the thread of the shaft is, but it's like 1/16 inch and 1/8 or inch and 1/16, 18 threads, something like that. So I'm now here for the next step. A little bit. I got a little overzealous with the grease. That's why I always bring a clean rag with me. And so I can wipe out. This motor. Oh, I don't need to be wiping out the grease on the motor. You want to be careful that you don't get any dirt on the inside of this motor. You don't want dirt inside here, it'll wear it right out. Alright, next thing. You got your the backup ring, backup washer, backup ring, goes in here like that. Backup washer goes here. And your seal. So this lip again goes sort of inside of the hydraulic motor. Do not put it on the outside, it might leak. I did this wrong on Monday and had to take it out again. Not a big deal, but better if you don't have to. So, I don't know if you can see in there. If you're unsure if you got it down installed properly, seated all the way, just turn the motor so the shaft housing side is out, and turn it upside down, look in there at an angle, and you'll see if it looks seated. And it's all seated, all good to go. All right. Alright, so next, before you install the inside shaft bearing, you want to make sure, and this particular motor has two thrust washers and the thrust bearing that are captive between the seal and inner motor bearing, inner shaft bearing. So first install your thrust washer, second your thrust bearing, and third your second thrust washer. Now next, you want to take I did it like this. I put my curved end in because it seems to go in better like that. And then to drive this in, I just take a hammer. Sometimes it's difficult to get to stay and start and stay. Here goes. Make sure you have thrust bearings in here, because otherwise you'll have to buy a puller to pull it out. Otherwise you ruin a bearing. And these bearings cost about, with shipping, cost about $104 for the outer bearing and inner bearing. From a company called Wilson Company, wilson-company.com. Now this has to be .125 inches, 125 thousandths below the deck, which is use a 30, a 30, a 28, 30, a 26, 28, 30, and 32 thousandths. And then you use a 9 thousandths feeler gauge. And that'll get you Alright, there it is. Oh dear. There it is. Wonder where I put my new shaft. Alright, so now take the motor shaft, output shaft, that's what I mean, output shaft, and wrap it in masking tape to prevent the seal from being messed up. What am I doing backwards? Alright, now stick your shaft in here. Slowly tap it in. Next is your second thrust washer goes on top of your motor. So next, I took two 3/8 threaded rod, 3/8 rod, and threaded it to 3/8 24 thread, and these are like 8 3/4 inches long or something like that. Thread it into two of the holes, one across from each other. They don't have to be perfect, just as long as they're... So now, Now, I'm just looking for my screwdriver. Oh, there it is. I knew it wasn't too far. So now take out the seal ring, the old seal ring. And there's my grease. I'll get about 6 seals in the 6 of this. So you take some of this grease and lube the seal up with grease so it's dry and doesn't leak when you put it together, to put the motor together. I take a seal, work around this motor. Wait. Now here's my and when you put this back on, it's gonna be you have one, you'll have to flip this the rings upside down. Oh, I'm gonna have to move this. Next, do your motor shaft. There's your next piece. You line up with all the scribed lines you should have when you took it apart. So always make sure you scribe a line, an alignment mark. Best thing is to make 2 marks when you line it up. One straight and one on an angle, so you can always make sure you get everything back in the exact position it was taken off in. And now I'm getting some grease and gonna do the second seal, lubing up the second seal, making sure you get enough grease on all 4 sides. And now here's the alignment mark. Should be able to see the alignment mark. One of the pistons fell out, so now this one has two rings on it. So Putting the grease on the third seal. Sorry about that. I had to change my music up. So now I flip this over. You can see this indented portion. This indented portion goes toward the motor shaft. The small side goes toward the end of the shaft, where the commutator ring is going to go. See, you can also see where it goes too, because see, you got indents of the pistons, outlines of the pistons. At this point, if you don't have perfect studs you screwed in, you're gonna have to take one out, because they all hang up at this point, because of the it doesn't matter if they're perfect or not. The motor shaft leans to one side, so you're gonna have to fiddle the shaft a little bit. Just as an FYI. So one of my studs is bent, so terrible time trying to get it out, unscrew it. So what happens when you don't buy ahead of time and you had to make your own, thread your own. Do yourself a favor when you do this and buy your you buy 3/8 24 by 9-inch bolts, or 8 to 9-inch bolts. I would say 9-inch bolts, because your stock ones I think are like 7 or 8, so you want 9-inch. Another seal. Greasing up this seal. All right. There's your one piece. Now the commutator. There's old commutator seal. Broken. Shouldn't be broken. Now, part goes on just like that. I always put the commutator. It's got solid piece and bevel, flat piece and beveled. I beveled like this. Beveled the inside. That there. Now here's your end, the end cap. One last seal. Greasing the seal. Alright. Next thing is bolts. I just like to wipe off these bolts. This stuff still has dirt and crud in there. Yeah, clean it out. Install the bolts. if this wasn't quite so dirty. This came out of a really dirty machine, caked full of mud and dirt and sand and whatnot. So if yours didn't get that dirty, it wouldn't be too bad. But so full of dirt and crud, it's unbelievable. There's my pliers. Alright, now I have to go get my 9/16 socket. Where'd it go? I had this one. 1/16 socket. Didn't look in the right spot. Alright, and now tighten these all up by hand. When you tighten these all up, finish tightening, we'll see some grease oozing out of the just as some grease ooze out of the cracks, and just wipe it up. When you do this, stick a bolt down, hold the motor so it doesn't turn when you torque this, because it got to be torqued between 50 and 55 foot-pounds. Snug them all up equally, and then once you snug them all up, then start torquing them.